Hello, my friends. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Every Which Way podcast. My name is Dana, for those of you just starting out. And everything is good for me, for the most part. For those of you who are American listeners, we just had our presidential election. And a lot of people are not doing great. And a lot of people are very stressed and afraid. And that sucks. It really does. If you are not an American listener, if you could just keep us in mind, that would be great. I'm sure a lot of people would appreciate that. But I think after the initial shock and hysteria ebb, or I don't know, like once things start to settle down just a bit, I think it would be possible for people on both sides of the political spectrum to be able to meet and just talk things out. Because, again, a lot of people are scared. Rightfully so. But I think that labeling everyone who voted for one or the other as something not great is a little bit unfair. And again, that's on both sides. And yeah, I just want everyone to be able to get along. I don't want discourse. At least not about this stuff. I don't think it's good for a lot of people. But that's all I want to say on that. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that. For my friends and family, I got your back. Okay? I got your back. Anyway, what am I talking about today? Well, I have a book review for you. The second one on the channel. So, yay! Books! Love them. And this is probably going to be a shorter episode. If you are a patron, this is going to be coming out probably on Thursday, maybe Friday. So a little bit earlier than usual. And the reason for that is that my coven and I were going away for the weekend. We are going to Greencastle, and which I think is about an hour, maybe two, away from our area where we live now, to just get away from reality, from life, and just relax and chill. And I've been looking forward to this for quite a long time, and I know, ladies, you're listening. I know that you have too. So yeah, but that's why I'm doing a book review. I mean, I planned on doing one on this book eventually anyway, but that's why I'm doing it this week. And the book that I am reviewing is Modern Witchcraft with the Greek Gods by Astrea Taylor and Jason Mankey. Okay? So let's get into it. A little bit about the authors first, and we're going to start with Astrea Taylor. Now, I don't know Astrea Taylor's pronouns, so I'm just using the they, them for them. So they are an author, a speaker, a spiritual worker, and a pagan and witchcraft teacher. As a teen/young adult, they found that paganism and witchcraft suited them better than any other religious or spiritual practice. And down the line, Astrea started blogging on Pathos Pagan, and I think they started in 2017, I'm pretty sure. The following year, 2018, they wrote their first book, which was subsequently published in 2020. Altogether, they have written 6 books in total, 2 fiction and 4 nonfiction. The 2 fiction books are Belle Dame Sans Merci and House of Transformation. As for the nonfiction books, they are, in no particular order, inspiring creativity through magic, air magic, elements of witchcraft, intuitive witchcraft, and, of course, modern witchcraft with the Greek gods. So that's Astrea Taylor. Now on Jason Mankey. He is a 3rd-degree Gardnerian high priest who assists with running covens in the San Francisco Bay Area. He is considered by many as one of the authorities on the Horned God and Wiccan history. Jason has been a guest speaker at many a witchcraft and pagan event in North America and Great Britain. To date, he has written 20 books, including several of Llewellyn's magical almanacs, The Witch's Athame, The Witch's Altar, The Horned God of Witches, and the one that we are discussing today. So, what exactly is modern witchcraft with the Greek gods about? Well, it is about modern witchcraft with the Greek gods. The end. No, I'm kidding. It is a blend of mythology and spiritual practices. Deities that are both widely known and hardly spoken of are covered in this book. It was published on December 8th, 2022, which was a Thursday, and it includes the origins of the gods, personal experiences not just from Astrea and Jason, but also other witches, people in the pagan witchcraft community, and also includes rituals and spells as well. Both authors take turns writing on several deities discussed in this book. So let's talk about the pros, or what I liked about this book. So the introduction, which outlined let me start over. The introduction. I really enjoyed the introduction, and that is because it outlined how the Greek gods were seen, or how they fit into the life of an average person in ancient Greece. And how the gods, how they would, it wasn't so much as an intangible thing. In the introduction, it very clearly states that the people of ancient Greece saw the gods in the physical world around them, and it was quite interesting. And I liked that because it made it very tangible and very down to earth, not like the gods were untouchable, stuff like that. If that makes sense, I hope that makes sense. The rituals that are included for the deities, that are mentioned in depth in the chapters, are informative, accessible, and aren't extravagant or overly complicated. Now I'm going to put a pin in that one because I'll get back to it, but have a little asterisk aside from us beside this one. Again, reiterating, it has different excerpts from various people who have relationships and work with the Greek gods featured within this book. And it was nice to read how people not just kind of got in touch with the gods or began their relationship with them, but also how it's impacted their careers, their personal lives, and all that stuff. And it was very informative, and for someone like me who has only really recently delved into working with deities, particularly Hades and Hecate, it was very nice to read and to feel that affirmation that while these are deities and they're very much around us, they are quite human in that they are both good and bad, light and dark, and they are accessible to us humans, mortals. Getting to the technical aspect of the book, it is well written and it flows easily. Astrea Taylor and Jason Mankey definitely know how to write and engage with the reader. If I had to pick between the two authors, as far as which one did a better job, I would go with Astrea Taylor. But that's not to say that Jason is awful at it, because he's not. It's just that how I read and my preference, they align, Astrea aligns more with that than Jason did. But for you, if you have read or if you are going to read, Jason might be. Or maybe they both are not great for you. Or maybe they are both great. It depends per person, I think. But for me, both of them did a good job, but Astrea is my preferred. And it doesn't feel rushed, this book. It doesn't feel rushed. It goes at a steady pace, and I like that. I don't like to feel rushed. And the authors and the book as a whole treat the gods respectfully and like they're more reachable and accessible than they aren't. It very much likes to reaffirm that these are not entities that are hard to get a hold of. They are accessible to us, is what I'm trying to say. This book also includes alternative names and epitaphs for the deities and different symbolism for them as well. So, let's see here. For those of you watching on Patreon, this is what the book looks like. And let's just flip to one of the chapters. For Artemis, one of her symbols is the bow and arrow, and that's what it has at the top of her page. And again, it doesn't just have the visual symbolism, but also it has the different names, like the Roman names, but also maybe what they were called in neighboring countries in the ancient world, if that makes sense. And the authors are honest and straightforward with the history and lore surrounding the deities. They don't sugarcoat things. They are respectful with the deities and their mythos and legends, but they don't shy away from the stuff that also made the ancient Greek people feel like the gods were human. Because in the book, it very well emphasizes repeatedly that to many of the ancient Greeks, the gods, while they were gods and very powerful, also had a human side to them. And when covering the various deities, the authors don't skip over or try to lighten the load. They are respectful and tasteful, but they are also going to give it to you straight, if that makes sense. This book features deities one doesn't normally see mentioned often outside of paganism and occultism. So, I know for the general populace, I think that a lot of people have heard of Aphrodite and Zeus, right? But not everyone is aware of who, for example, Hades is, or who Pan is, or who Persephone is. And it touches on those deities. And it's not just the Olympian gods or the Chthonios gods. This book also goes over the Titans and the primordial beings that came before the traditional Olympian gods, if that makes sense. So that's my what I liked about section. But now we go on to the cons, or I didn't say what I disliked, but some things that I think could be improved upon, if that makes sense. So the first thing I have for possible improvements is be more neutral. And what do I mean by that? Well, like I mentioned about Jason, he is a third degree Gardnerian high priest. And with someone who has read and researched Wicca and used to affiliate with that religion, reading this book, it kind of, sometimes it felt like it was leaning more towards Wicca and Wiccan practices, customs, and rites than general paganism and witchcraft. Not that I'm saying that that's bad, because it's not. I'm not trying to say that at all. But for me personally, I felt like I would have preferred if it was leaned more to like the witchcraft and the secular practices than some things that one would find in a Wiccan coven, if that makes sense. And again, if you are Wiccan, this is not a knock at you at all. I'm not trying to say that Wicca is awful or bad or anything like that. In fact, if you are Wiccan and part of a Wiccan coven or a solitary Wiccan practitioner, then you very well may enjoy that aspect. But for me, I would have just preferred a more neutral ground. And that's just my own preference from my own past and history. I think average people wouldn't find an issue with it at all. But that's the one thing. Another thing that I wish they would have improved upon or done more with is the book is not as in depth as I wanted it to be. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it doesn't encompass every myth or legend and is more a generalization or a summary. And I understand that to compile every single myth and legend on all of the all of the Greek deities or entities that were worshipped or acknowledged in ancient Greece, the book would be tremendously thick and probably wouldn't even be possible, really, because there is a lot of things that we don't know. I mean, archaeology has helped to kind of give us a look into how ancient Greeks worshipped and did rituals and practiced and worked with the gods. But that's not the same as being able to see it firsthand, if that makes sense, like from the people of the ancient world. There's no way to go back in the past and do that. But getting back to my point, I don't need every single myth or legend or everything when I'm reading about the Greek gods and the deities, but I would like more meaty sections. For Zeus, for example, a lot of his myths, it does go over, of course, his origins, his birth, his fight with his father, but doesn't really go into great detail about his various love affairs and stuff like that, or things of that nature. And with Troy and the story with ancient Troy and Helen, it doesn't explain or go into any detail on that. And I personally would have liked that. I do have books back there on my little tiny bookshelf that does have them, but in a book that is specifically for modern witches and working with Greek gods, I would have liked more myth and legend. And that is, for me, to get to be more familiar with them as their own personalities, as their own people and individuals, and just to get to know them. Even if the myths themselves aren't exactly like excuse me, even if the myths are just allegories for something, they're still insightful, and they can still give us a glimpse into the individual and the mind frame. And I personally just would have liked that, okay? Not that what is here is bad, because it's not. When I get a book like this about Greek gods, I want a thick, meaty boy. Not that this book is small, because it's a little over 300 pages. But I would just like a thick, mamma jamma, honka honka of a book, if that makes sense. Moving on. Typically, this book only really features 1 or 2 rituals or spells per deity, and that doesn't give it a whole lot of variety. Again, this is it's accessible, this book and the information in there, but at the same time, it doesn't give a lot of variety, and for maybe new beginners, people who are new to witchcraft or new to mythology and researching deities, I feel like this is lacking in that area. And that's, I just think that could have been improved upon is all. Now, when it does, the rituals and the spells that it has in here, it does have a very in-depth explanation of the ritual, why to do it, you know, the feelings and the thoughts and the beliefs behind it, and that's awesome. But I would like more. More ritual, more spell work, things like that. And that's just because the gods, the Greek gods weren't just deities of one particular thing. All right, so for example, let me see here. Athena is one of the main Olympian deities, and she was a goddess of wisdom and battle, but she was also a goddess of invention and was seen as the embodiment of cities. And I would have liked to seen a ritual or a spell that focused more on that than on wisdom and knowledge, if that makes sense. And I hope that does. Not that wisdom and knowledge aren't good and good things to have or want to seek, but with as complex as the Greek gods are and can be, I feel like not including a variety of ritual and spell work for them is, in a way, doing a disservice to the deities and also the reader, especially one who is just starting out and is using this book as a stepping stone. So, but again, that's just my own personal opinion, and it's okay for you to disagree, by all means. You know what, if you disagree with me, go for it. That is A-okay. So, another thing, and this, I hesitate to include this because witchcraft is so individual and so personal per witch that I hesitate to add this, but this book doesn't really have any traditional correspondences. And by that, I mean, if you open it up and you get to the page about Nyx, who is the embodiment of the night sky, it doesn't list, like, her preferred herbs or scents, her animals, anything like that. And while each correspondence and symbol is individual for each witch and their relationship with their deities, I feel like, again, going back to someone who is a baby witch or someone who doesn't have a lot of experience working with deities, I feel like having some sort of like outline of correspondences would be beneficial. At the very least, it would just be a, hey, you could try this, that, or the other thing. By no means do you have to do this, that, or the other thing, but if you're kind of clueless and you don't know where to start, this might be a good place to start. I just think that would be helpful. That's all. Another thing that I have for improvements is this book does not include a lot or any, from what I can recall, of the hymns or prayers for the gods. I think in the, not the theogony, in it might be the theogony. I don't remember. I'm sorry. there are prayers and hymns for each deity in the Greek pantheon. And I think that that would have been nice to include. If not in the chapters proper, then maybe in the appendix, which there is an appendix, but it doesn't list any of the hymns or prayers. And again, I just think that would have been a nice addition. And the last thing that I have as far as cons or stuff that I would prove is this isn't as accommodating or considerate of witches or practitioners in urban settings. So while, of course, each individual can refine rituals and spell works for their given living situation, this doesn't really have a lot of urban specific or urban friendly rituals or spells, if that makes sense. And I just think that that would have been a good, I know I've been saying this a lot, I just think that would have been helpful. Okay? Because not every witch is going to live in the suburbs or rural areas, you know? And when reading a book like this, like Modern Witchcraft with the Greek Gods, I would like it to be as inclusive as possible. But that's just me personally. And that's really all I have for the pros and the cons, or what I liked and what I think could have been improved upon. So, in conclusion to this review, would I recommend this book? Overall, yes, I would recommend this book. Especially if you are new to witchcraft or baby witch, or if you're someone who is looking for a quick reference for a specific deity or ritual, or for those who just want a basic overview of the gods. I think this is a very helpful book, indeed. However, as I've mentioned, if you are looking for an encyclopedia or a more in-depth compendium, perhaps find another title. Not that this one is not useful or an enjoyable read, because it is, but it's not going to list it's not going to go very in-depth. This is like a bit of a surface level book for the gods, which isn't bad. But if you want something that has a lot of the meat and a lot of the mythos to the gods from the Greek pantheon, then maybe this book isn't the one for you. But again, for someone just starting out, or who is new, or maybe just intrigued because of the title, yeah, by all means, go ahead and read it. And to reiterate, this book is a little over 300 pages, so while it is not a thin little pamphlet, it is it's a decent read, and it flows very well. The authors did a great job writing, like the technical writing is very good, and it is, what is here is beneficial and good. It certainly wouldn't hurt to have this book in your library, is what I'm saying. So if I had to give this a rating, I would say buy it at a discount, if you could. And what I mean by that is, if you go into Barnes & Nobles or BAM, and you go back to their clearance section, and you see this book for like $10, definitely get it. Would I pay full price for it? Maybe not, but definitely at discount. Okay? And that is Modern Witchcraft with the Greek Gods: History, Insights, and Magical Practice by Astrea Taylor and Jason Mankey. I hope that was informative and insightful for you. And I hope that that helped you if you were thinking of if you were looking for a book for Greek gods and working with them specifically in witchcraft, it's not a bad choice, is what I'm saying. So, yeah, by all means, if you come across this book and it's under $20, definitely get it, okay? Well, with that being said, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to the Every Which Way podcast. I hope that you all have a marvelously magical Monday, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Testing the microphone. Do 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 do. Testing the microphone. Do 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 do.